Irashaimase! Hello and welcome to Fitaurus Kitchen. I'm your host, Chef Fitaurus. It's time once again for Shoot 'em Up Saturday, and on the menu this Saturday we've got Darius Burst, Chronicle Saviour. Specifically, I'll go and be playing CS mode, as I kind of covered AC mode earlier in the week. So, I'm really excited that this title actually went and released, and I'm surprised that it released in North America and the EU before it went and released in Japan. It's not actually scheduled, or at least there hasn't been another release date announced for Japan until January. So it's really surprising that a Japanese-developed shoot 'em up would go and launch overseas first before its original territory. That said, I'm thrilled that we went and got this title. I've been going and having a blast with it, and I can't wait to go and share more of it with you. So that being the case, what kind of taste will this shoot 'em up go and have? Let's get cooking and find out.
Alright, here we are back at the main menu of Darius Burst Chronicle Saviour. So today we're going to go and be taking a look at the CS mode, so let's get cooking! A CS mode is a really interesting mode where, unlike a standard Darius run, you're not going and choosing your route throughout, but you're actually going and selecting all these different planets which are available to go and play. And the whole point is you're going through these like set mixes of stages, as it were, going and fighting different enemies, different stages, and sometimes even different rules. So there's a couple different rule sets. There's the normal, then there's also a defender mode and a scramble mode. I actually haven't unlocked any for scramble yet, but that one's supposed to be like a time attack. And each stage goes and has a unique layout to it. So you might go and have as few as just a single stage that you're going and fighting through with one boss or one stage. Or they might go and be super complex and long. I've seen ones that go and get all the way up to 14 stages. And the difficulty level goes and starts out low, but as you go and progress through the tree, it starts to go and increase. So I've gone and had difficulty on some of the later stages, going and actually being able to go and finish them, because you're basically going and shooting for a one continue clear. You do go and get a lot of help with this from the presets that you're given to go and start with, which I'll explain in just a second, but the difficulty is still there. So, to go and start things off, we're going to go and be doing the very first one, Oruriba here. There are a total of 6 stages. You can go and see what they're, rather 6 parts of the stage. You can see them represented down in the bottom with the hexes. So in this case we have a stage, boss, stage, boss, stage, boss. Sometimes it's like stage, stage, boss, or stage, boss, boss. It can go several different ways. So once you actually go and select your stage, you're given 2 options here. You can go and see on the left we go and have the preset, which goes and gives us the preset ship for this particular stage, and which in this case is the legend ship. And there's also set rules. For this stage it's all power-up drops, but you can go and select your ship. And this is where things go and get really interesting. So you actually have 9 total ships that you can go and select from. The Origin, the Second, the Gaiden, the Genesis, the Legend, the Next, the Murakumo, the Formula, and the Assault. But the trick is you have to go and unlock them throughout going and earning points. And the way that you go and earn points to unlock these ships is by going and setting scores within the various missions. And your scores converted to points at a relatively low rate of 0.1%. So, despite how much I've actually played it, I've actually only, do have enough points to go and unlock other ships, but I've actually only spent points to go and unlock Origin to go and experiment around with it. And one of the things that's neat is once you've unlocked the ship, the preset goes and gives you a set starting power for all your weapons, and specifically your shields, or arm as they're called. With the presets, you're set to the particular defaults, but if you're going and selecting your ship, you can go and configure it whatever way you want, just as long as you have the points to go and dump into it for that kind of a ship. So you're basically shelling out points each time you're going and starting. So if you're having particular difficulty with a particular stage, you can go and try and give yourself a really powerful ship with max weapons and an insane amount of hits to your shield. You can go all the way up to 98 hits. It'll go and cost you a lot of points, but if you're having difficulty with a stage, that's one way to do it. Or you can go and do this in the opposite direction. If you're looking to go and give yourself a challenge, you can go and give yourself a base ship on a stage that doesn't go and have any power-up drops and see if you can actually go and clear the challenge. So that said, let's go ahead and jump in with the preset for this one, the Legend with all power-up drops. So one thing that's really neat to go and mention, those ships, a lot of them are from other Darius games. So like the origin is obviously the original Darius from the original Darius, the second is from Darius 2, and so on and so forth. Gaiden's from Gaiden, the Genesis is from G Darius. One thing that's really neat about those ones is the stages that have those ships as the presets actually go and have those stages' music and sound effects present for those stages. So in the case of, and even when you go and actually select the stage and select the ship. So we go and have the Legend, which is a stage from a ship from Darius Burst, so thus we go and get the relative new music. In fact, this one we have one of the tracks that's new to Chronicle Saviours. So as was definitely noted in my 4-player playthrough of Darius Burst AC mode, the music is definitely one of the highlights of the Darius franchise as a whole. Although admittedly this particular track, one of the new ones that was used in the trailer for Darius Burst Chronicle Savior, it's not necessarily one that seemed to go and resonate well with a lot of fans of the franchise, which is too bad because it's definitely an interesting one, though the style is different, I'll grant you that. So at any rate, going on along the lines of what we were kind of covered with the AC mode, I've gotten a little bit more practice with the overall systems in the game itself, so I'm a little bit more familiar with how all the systems like the burst and the scoring goes and works. So obviously you can go and build up a score multiplier, but if you go and get hit, that's going to go and get lost. And as you go and defeat enemies, your burst gauge goes and fills up, allowing you to go and use your burst. With the Legend here, it's that massive fixed burst beam, or rather burst beam, but it can be fixed. Warning, a huge battleship, Force Claws, approaching fast. So here's our first boss in this particular mission, Force Claw. One thing that is, I'm not sure if I actually had the chance to go and mention before, you actually have several different forms to each of the individual bosses. So in the case here, we've got the crab boss, Force Claw, and I think is probably his easiest form, but he does have other forms where his attack modes go and differ. And they're named different things. I can't think off the top of my head what Force Claw's other possible names are, but they go and get different. Like in, I think, a gray version of him, he goes and has the lasers he goes and shoots from his eyes goes and homes, which really sucks. So some other systems that I've actually gotten, some practice with, but I definitely went down pretty easy, but I actually haven't gotten good at. It's possible if you have a ship with a burst beam to go and counter the enemy's burst beams. Oh, also you go and get little story tidbits of Darius lore throughout playing these stages. The whole idea is you're kind of going across all of Darius history and going and getting these little tidbits about it. So we're on to our second area, Zone Beta. At least I'm assuming that's Beta. So where was I? So it is possible to go, as I was going and saying, it's possible to go and burst counter the enemy's beams if you're daring and you get your timing just right. And it's kind of difficult to go and get the timing spot on because you basically have to go and engage your burst beam just like frames before your ship actually goes and gets hit. Unless you're going and taking the Genesis ship, which actually goes and makes it significantly easier, because if you have played G Darius, you might be familiar with the fact that it's all about going and using your beam in that one to go and counter and build these like massive beam duels between you and an enemy. specifically bosses, just to go and utterly annihilate them with this massive beam that sometimes got as big as the entire screen, which was awesome. So here's our second boss. Iron Fossil is approaching fast. So the warning klaxons, one of the things that goes and changes between the sound effects for the different preset stages. So even if you do go and select a different stage, unfortunately it does not go and change the preset music and sound effects for it. So say I go and pick a stage that's supposed to go and be Gaiden, for example, and then I go and take the origin ship, going hoping to go and have the original music. That won't be the case. I'll still go and get the Gaiden music and the Gaiden sound effects, but that's awesome because I actually love the Gaiden stuff. I'm going to try and beam count here. Let's see if I can do it. Nope, I failed. Timing was off, so I took some pretty heavy hits there, but alright. Iron Fossil is arguably one of the easiest bosses in the game. There are some other forms of Fossil here that are more difficult, like King Fossil. But all in all, a relatively easy fight, though I did go and take a couple of necessary hits in addition to trying to beam counter. So that's all just about getting the timing right, and I'm sure I'll get there eventually. Rushing into Zone Gamma? Maybe? Epsilon? Y? So here's definitely a great spacescape to go and look at. The little bit of the planet behind us and then the other planets that are further away as we go and get further along into the stage are just breathtaking to go and behold, especially that ring going into orbiting the planet. Kind of makes you go and wonder what was the purpose of it is for. Ah, science fiction. Truly a glorious genre. So, I haven't really been able to go and pick up on the pattern, but certain ships and certain shots on the ships go and actually are able to go and counter some shots, but I still haven't figured out exactly which one goes and does what. And while we're a little bit further into this, just going and covering power-ups real quick. So there's 3 main colored power-ups. Blue is your shield, or the arms as it's called, and in CS mode here, the number of hits you can still go and take is actually displayed at the top of the screen next to your number of lives. The red, of course, is your shot, and as you go and increase, the shot goes through several phases. You go and start off with your base shot, which is actually referred to as a missile. Then you go and have lasers, which can go and pierce through enemies, and then you ultimately go and get the wave cannons, which can go and pierce through, although they do go and lose some of their strength, actual like rock and the background itself. So the more power-ups you can go and get, the more powerful your shot gets and the easier it is to go and deal damage, especially against bosses. Another thing that I go and absolutely love about the way the bosses are going handled is as you go and destroy parts of the boss, you can actually go and see the damage that you've gone and done. So, you know, if you're going and destroying scales on Iron Fossil, those scales are damaged. If we're able to go and destroy, like, the fin here on Lightning Flamberge, we can go and actually destroy. Also, those 2 cannons on either side of his nose, nozzle, whatever the heck it would be called on a ray. Just like that. It's just a nice little touch, attention to detail. Nope, that didn't work either. I thought I could go and get beam counter in there. It's just a really fun little attention to detail that you don't always go and get in shoot-'em-ups. Although I feel it's definitely something that's more common these days than it was in the past. But it's something that the Darius franchise has kind of always had. Definitely from Darius Gaiden on anyway. And I was complaining a little bit in my AC mode video that it's hard to go and tell how much life a boss has left. So if you go and look past the armor, there is kind of an underlayer to the boss, and as that underlayer goes and gets more and more red, that's indicating that you're closer to going and defeating the boss. But still not easy to go and really tell how far along a boss fight is, and some bosses you can't really see that underlayer. Alright, so that goes and wraps up this mission. Final zone is over. So you go and get your final score total. So each time you finish the zone, you go and get a time bonus, and if you didn't take any damage, you also get a really nice no damage bonus. And then once you go and finish it up, any extra lives you have go and count as a Silverhawk bonus. You go and get your total score, and then you get your points earned, which, as I said, was 0.1% of your total score. So it does take quite a while to go and save up to go and unlock some of the best ships, but I think it would ultimately be worth it if you're going to be spending a lot of time with CS mode. And this number of stages I've unlocked, this is actually several hours worth of work put into the title itself. So I'm going to go ahead and show off one of the Defender stages that I go and have unlocked. Isanta here, which is just 3 wave plus a boss. And it goes and uses the Origin ship with no power-up drops. Or we could go and select, the ships that we can go and choose, but I just have the Origin ship unlocked anyway, so we might as well go with the preset and not go and waste any points. Looks like we go and have full wave shot here, full bombs, and 13 shield hits. That'll be awesome. And did you hear that select sound effect of the one from the original Darius game? That's just awesome. Small little details like that. So here, our goal is to go and destroy all the enemies before they go and hit the left side of the screen. If they make it all the way to the other side of the screen, then the defender bar on the left goes and takes damage. And if it goes and hits all the way to 0, then we go and, of course, fail the mission. But fortunately, with this one going and being one of the first defender stages you encounter, it's actually very easy to go and clear this one without actually letting any enemies go all the way to the left. So we'll just go and take our time, make sure we're going and wiping out all the waves. And bam, first wave clear, 100% with 12 seconds remaining. So we got a nice little bonus from that. Now we're on to wave number 2. We do also go and take a time penalty if we ourselves go and take damage. So if you can go and get through without getting hit, you're far better off. And going and having a fully powered up Origin ship definitely goes and helps, as this wave just goes and slices through these enemies like butter. These ones are a little bit more tricky since they actually go and have a relatively pain in the butt attack to go and dodge. Firing out in a V pattern and then firing straight ahead. But 100% there again. And now we're on to our boss fight. Huge battleship Lightning Claw is approaching fast. So here we go and get a different version of Lightning again. This one is definitely armed with a few extra cannons and has a few extra trips up his sleeve. I actually like this boss fight a little bit more than the Flamberge that we went and took out in the first one. Although, wow, a lot of hits there at the beginning that I didn't necessarily need to take. I was actually shooting for no damage on this one, so my bad. So, unfortunately, one thing that the Origin ship doesn't go and have that so many of the other ships do, it doesn't actually have a burst mode. So, in place of going burst, when you actually go and use the burst button itself, you just go and fire your missiles, bombs. I guess technically they're bombs. Not too exciting, but it definitely goes and keeps true to what the ship was. Fortunately, Lightning Claw here isn't very difficult and dies in a glorious explosion. And that is the basic quick defender mode, which is really enjoyable for how short and different it is from how else we're going and playing the stages here. And just to go and finish things off, let's go and start up just a little bit of a stage with Gaiden, as I love the music and some of the sound effects that you go and get with Gaiden. So, just like those little touches, like the different select sounds, so nice, as well as, you know, the different warning klaxons and of course the music. So, overall, I'll go and cover some of my final thoughts on Darius Burst Chronicle Saviours. So, initially, when I went and saw the price point, I was ready to go and import it at full Japanese price, but when released in the US at full price, I actually bulked a little bit. I was kind of surprised that they would go and release what is essentially a niche genre at the price of a full AAA title. But after having gone and sunk my teeth both into AC mode as well as CS mode, specifically with CS mode, I think the price tag is justified. If you're a fan of shoot 'em ups, there's definitely enough here to go and justify the $60 price point of entry for the PlayStation 4 version, especially if you have people that you can go and play multiplayer with on the AC mode. I think you would definitely go and find quite a bit that's worth your time there. And I haven't even gotten into the Chronicle mode yet. Whereas a lot of other shoot 'em ups, I don't feel present quite as much value as I've been going and getting out of this one. Real quick, getting back to what I'm actually doing in-game, I absolutely love the black hole bomb that is the burst for the guidance ship. And the fact that it's rechargeable, so you essentially go and have an infinite supply of them. Beautiful. But after going and spending the time that I have with the title, I've definitely gone and come to the conclusion that the price point is worth it if you're a fan of the genre. And if you are, I can't go and recommend this title enough. Darius Burst Chronicle Savior is one of those kind of shoot 'em ups that have been just missing from the market for such a long time. It's not a bullet hell that does go and have some hard patterns, but it's more of one of those skill-based ones where you go and learn the patterns of the enemies and you go and dodge through things in maybe not quite as manic of a manner as you sometimes encounter when you're going and playing bullet hells. So there's a lot more of finesse to this style. Well, that's not to go and put down bullet hells as well, because there's definitely finesse to those titles as well. But I feel that they're not quite one and the same. And especially if you're going and looking to go and finish up all of the stages in CS mode and go and play all of AC mode, including everything that can be unlocked in the Chronicle mode, I think you're in for quite a bit of enjoyment and definitely enough bang for your buck. So, Darius Burst Chronicle Saviours definitely goes and earns a chef's rating of delicious. Like I said, if you're a fan of shoot 'em ups, pick up this title. It'll be well worth your time. Alright, that'll go and wrap it up for this episode of Shoot 'em Up Saturday. Thank you so much for coming out and joining me for this week full of Darius Burst Chronicle Saviours. This is one I've been going and looking forward to immensely since I went and heard about its release, and despite all the build-up, I was not disappointed. As always, if you go and have other shoot 'em ups that you think I might be interested in going and playing, please go and recommend those to me below in the comments below. I would love to go and hear what you think would be a good title to go and check out. Once again, thank you so much for coming out and joining me today for Shoot 'em Up Saturday, and I'll see you again next Saturday.